Were you able to get us logged in and stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. I literally just had to. It said that it couldn't. I mean, I guess let's make sure we're actually live and it's not just saying it, but. I don't know.
Yeah, I see us on Twitch.
All right, well, there you go. I don't know what OBS is talking. It said it couldn't verify it, and then I just hit live and it works, so whatever. All right. All right, you ready?
Yeah, ready.
All right. Hello, welcome. What is up? Welcome to episode 379 of the Centering Esports podcast, presented by Philly Esports. And this is going to be the best episode ever because we have Yikes of the Week, a too soon review of Gundam Evolution, the new quote-unquote esports game from Bandai, and a ESL Pro League's over. Did you know that? We'll discuss kind of a retrospective of the season and just kind of CSGO talk in general, as well as some e-news to wrap up. But before we get to any of that, let me tell you about our friends over at Philly Esports. They are good dudes. They are the best dudes, as they host multiple monthly in-person and online events. You go to phillyesports.gg. You can sign up. They just did a big in-person event this last weekend, so congratulations to everyone there. April 23rd, Apex Legends Trios in-person event sponsored by the U.S. Army. $2,000 prize pool. It's completely free, so no excuses. If you're in the area, you get your boys and you go play some games. phillyesports.gg.
Hey, I'm Ralph from Mousesports, and you're listening to TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Centering, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast, coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date 4/11/2022, the time 9:56 p.m. You can blame Anuj.
Bro, I just totally forgot. Like, not even an excuse. I mean,
Just getting old.
the day has just been busy nonstop, and I just got on to see if anyone was on, and I was like, oh, Tim's in the show chat on a Monday night.
I even messaged you on the little thing.
Okay,
But you've been
so-
MIA all day. You've been MIA.
So the app on my phone reset, and I can't log. I have to reset my password. And
Okay.
I did that today, so I actually don't have the Facebook Messenger app up right now.
So my name is Tim, captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend, the friend that you just heard. It's Anuj. And as we already know what is up, because he forgot today was Monday, and it's show day. And it just goes to show, we're busy people, because we used to record on Sundays. And then we were like,
Yeah.
well, Sundays is just way too
Awful.
It's just too busy because it is. I don't know what it is.
It's Sunday. It's just
Sunday. The wife wants us to do stuff, and it's just difficult. So let's do Sunday night to watch all the VODs that we missed over the weekend and do the show Monday. But then Monday also sucks because it's Monday, and who likes a Monday? But then Tuesdays, you're like, damn, that's like... We need... So here's the thing, because we constantly never record when we're supposed to record. We can't plan on Tuesday, because then if we delay it a day, we have no buffer period, and it's Wednesday, and it's already way too late to talk about. It's a delicate
They're like in a
balance.
preview and recap, like nightmare spot on a Wednesday.
So it's just people think when you get older, you like, oh man, I can't wait till I get old and I get like more free time and I can just do whatever I want. It's not. That's fantasy land.
That's your 20s.
Yeah, that's college. Like when you're in college and all you have to do is study enough to get a C, like that's college. After that, and real life comes at you, the fun stops really. It really does. Even more so when you get married and have kids. Like, I often wonder what it would be like to be single, and I just look at my single friends who bitch about not having time, and I'm like, you have no idea. Like, I don't want to be that guy who's like, yeah, I'm married and with kids, and you don't know young whipper. No, but you really don't.
You really don't.
You really don't know.
You're gaining obviously so much more, but you're giving up a lot in order to, you know, do that. So
Right.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
Comes with the territory.
It's life. It is
It's
life.
life.
Well, let's get into the show then, since it's already super late. We have Yikes of the Week, Anuj. Would you like to take this first one?
I would. Let me so this was funny because this happened live on stream, Tim, and any incident that
It's beautiful.
takes place where somebody gets caught doing something
Speaking
and it's there
of
for
being old, I am so glad that, like, maybe I'm not. Maybe we could be like the #1 streamers on Twitch had we just done it when we should have. But I am also so glad that, like, my youth is not cemented on some YouTube stream page.
could be rough. Could be rough.
Oh,
Could be some rough
it
moments
would
in
be
there.
rough. There's no doubt.
Well, definitely rough for this guy. Flanks. I don't even know how to pronounce PPHLX or something like that.
Sure,
Weird
it's
name.
irrelevant now.
Anyways, ranked number 2 on Call of Duty Vanguard. I think this is like the multiplayer game. Okay, so
in
it's
the
not, it's
league
not
play.
Warzone to
Right.
kind of differentiate for those listening. So this is on the multiplayer side. Ranked number 2, kills it. It's got a good, obviously a good popular stream going. The other night he's playing. I don't understand the glitch that necessarily took place, but while he was streaming, his wall hack showed up on stream for a brief moment, but very clearly. I mean, the red boxes popped up everywhere, just highlighting on his screen. And so he tried to play it off. He kept going. Obviously, anyone that saw it knew exactly what they saw.
He goes, man, why does my game keep always crashing? But then his game, the odd part is his game never crashed. Like, he's complaining about his game crashes where he clearly just alt tabs because the game, like how you alt tab while streaming and your game stops moving. And then all of a sudden he starts playing. Like, he takes a weird ass burp in the mic and then he continues to play. It's like, bro, your game never crashed. What are you talking about?
Well, there was even some updates to this because he obviously released a statement today, quite lengthy, talking about how he did it so he could get the camos faster because that's like it had like a list of excuses, but there really are none at the end of the day that is going to make this acceptable, especially with all the accusations that go on within Call of Duty, whether it's Warzone or Vanguard,
right?
Primarily Warzone.
No
but
one's
still,
trusted anyways.
Nobody's trusted. So even if you have a legitimate excuse, which there isn't one for having it, you're going to be in the losing end of the situation.
It's like your little cousin and his Make-A-Wish was just dominating in a lobby. Then sure, download the hacks for him. Like that's your one excuse. But here I just look. Yeah, he said he downloaded the hacks so he could unlock the diamond camo faster, and then he didn't know how to turn them off. So in this guy's fantasy world, he knows how to look at up the hacks and download them, which is always like third-party softwares. I assume I've never looked it up, but I'm assuming it's almost like our add-on tool with WoW, right? I almost assume it's something similar to that, but with hacking. And he knows how to do all of this and set it all up and get it to the point where he's hiding
it working. I mean, like I think even like to get it working, it's not like it's just plug and play,
and let alone to use it on stream and know enough to hide it on stream. He knows how to do all this, but turning them off is just mind-blowing technology.
Beyond him.
How am I supposed to do this?
He has been permanently banned from Call of Duty, like his account. He's also been removed from the leaderboard. And, most importantly, his reputation is tarnished forever, regardless of what. I think within the Call of Duty scene, I should say, like,
you don't think future employers will look upon this and say, have you ever hacked in a video game? As he applies for...
And look, the bigger underlying issue here, the bigger yikes is like Call of Duty's system is still so broken, right? Like this guy wasn't caught by the system. He was caught by the people.
Right.
And so it's just unfortunate because it seems like it's still so easy to do, even with this new ricochet system they have in place.
I can't believe. Now, I always assumed, Anuj. I always just, when you look at leaderboards in any video game, I just assume the top 5% are just hackers. You know, like look at in CS. Like, do you trust any of those numbers?
Okay, so but like for Counter-Strike, off topic for a brief second here. When we play our last 40 games, let's just say, because we played a lot of
Yeah.
CS probably in
Yeah.
the last like 6 months. I feel like we've got a decent amount of games in. Do you feel like you've seen a hacker?
No.
Like, do you even recall a game where we're like, wow, this person is like definitely
There's
cheating?
always like maybe 1 or 2 kills from someone, but then you realize it's like it was just a hot 2 rounds because then they come back to normal.
Yeah.
You know. Plus in Counter-Strike, and I don't know why it is like this in Counter-Strike, you assume Smurf before cheating, you know? Like I just assume, oh, this guy just went 20-2. He's probably a Smurf,
Because
not
I
cheating.
think for somebody like you and me that have also played a lot, we know when somebody is just better than us versus when somebody is like hitting shots that are just ungodly. You
Right.
know, like I mean, even when you upload our stats into that stats.gg or whatever, I think it showed like one hacker in our last like 67 that the game has actually caught.
Right.
But I just don't feel like I played a lot in there. Where in Warzone, I don't know. I feel like it's
All the time.
every game.
I felt
you
like
know,
it was all the time. So I will say, but my point is I always just assume, you know, on any leaderboard, right, someone's cheating somewhere and it's normally at the top. And that's what you hear is like the global elite in Counter-Strike is more heavily cheated, which makes sense because cheaters, you know, are going to rise to the top. And that's why it blows my mind, like in Valorant, like Tarek and all those pros are like #1 and stuff. It's like, okay, so there must be very little cheating in Valorant overall, right? Like despite what people are like, no, this guy's cheating in my lobby. Well, if that's the case, don't you think your top would also be cheater heavy? I can't believe that cheaters are not only willing to cheat, but stream while doing it. Like the risk cannot outweigh the reward at this point. Like, yeah, I guess he had a pretty good streaming career for a little bit, but like you said, he's done so.
I know, but I think that is the risk, right? And the reward is the fact that if you show yourself to be quote unquote good with your hacks on and you build a streaming career, and let's say you've been playing Call of Duty Warzone since it arrived. So that was at the beginning of COVID for us. I think it was like, must come out right around March 2020. Somewhere around there. So it's been 2 years.
Right.
Let's say he's been playing since then. For 2 years, he's been doing really good. He builds a stream.
Has a following.
He has subs, has a following, has a YouTube channel, has been ranked in the top 10 this whole time, or top 20 at least. So people think he's legit.
Right.
Like he's walked away
pretty good.
You know, pretty decent out of this deal.
And it's like, I'm sure now, not like a whole, I mean, let's face it, people, he's streaming Call of Duty League play, so he can't have a ton of viewers. But even if he retains just a little bit, he might be able to make a nice, you know, low salary full-time job out of it, right? You know, I don't know what his numbers were, but either way, piece of shit. And I hope he doesn't able to do that. But who knows? Insane that people are willing to stream while cheating. That blows
dumb.
my mind.
It's so dumb.
It just blows, because we always see like eventually they get caught because they alt tab or something happens like
I mean, you like to think so, but I'm sure there's a lot more out there.
Maybe Tarek cheats and we just don't know yet.
Yeah.
No, there's no way that guy cheats, because there are some nights where he is just on a losing streak from hell. And I'm like, I feel that.
How dead inside would you become if one of the Cloud9 members turned out to be like cheating after all these years?
Well, Skadoodle was cheating. Fixing, but still cheating. So
he wasn't involved. He was the only one.
He was the only, you're right. Skadoodle was innocent. He had no idea. He
just had a bad game.
Right. Much like yourself, he forgot the Facebook Messenger app password and he just never saw the messages and just still showed up to play. No, yeah, you know what? At this point, I would just be happy that Cloud9 had a team that could cheat. That's all I want.
Fair enough.
My yikes of the week comes from Na'Vi in Counter-Strike. Boomage, recently newlywed, a couple months ago, like 6 months ago, got married to a young, attractive-looking woman on Instagram. Well, Anuj, much like women, they can make you look bad.
Better back up.
Because she decides to put on Instagram a post about Russia. Now, what's the issue here? It's in support of Russia, saying that she loves Russia and, all that. And now, obviously, Boomage was kind of under fire, saying like, yo, bro, like, what's the deal here, right? And look, I don't know whatever came of it. I don't think much of anything from what I saw, but never a good look.
No, but like, so her tweet was interesting because I did go look this up when it happened. I was kind of interested to see what did she actually put out there, and she said like, I love Russia so much.
Right.
Let me see. Like,
it's towing the line.
And it also says at the end, it says that, she wrote a little bit more, and then it says, I'm with you. And it doesn't necessarily like 100% mean she's maybe like talking about maybe she's visiting Russia after some time,
right.
And
you do have to be pretty dumb though. Like,
bad timing at the best case scenario. This is a bad timing tweet, right? Worst case scenario, she's outwardly supporting the war, creating that's just Boomage doesn't need that around him in that sense of like with what's going on and the fact that he's on a team
Ukraine
mixed with
team,
and it's just.
And look, I don't care who you are. I mean, in general, but especially if you're on a Ukraine team, I don't care if you're Boomage on Na'Vi. Your ass is gone. Like, Na'Vi would not even hesitate to drop him if he says something or in relations to supporting it. So that's why I think they probably handled it behind closed doors, or at least you hope they did. But yeah.
That definitely just makes for an awkward situation. That is a true yikes, right? Like, that's the true definition of a yikes right there, because it does make you say, like, but puts him in a really weird situation. Like, it just teammates see this stuff. Everybody sees this stuff. It's all out there.
Yeah.
I wonder, did he like that post? That would be interesting.
I don't know.
Does that make it worse?
Does
that make him like complicit?
Yeah, you know how likes work on social media. You like something, that means you.
But let's be real. You also are forced to like all of your wife's posts.
This is true. It's what Instagram and all those things should just make you attach who your significant other is on your post, so it automatically likes their posts. That way, you don't even, saves you the time to do it.
Saves you the time.
Yeah. That would be the best invention in the world.
That would be Boomich's one out is like, dude, I didn't even read it. Like, it's my wife. She
like, crazy wives, how they just get together and gab. Like, I'd be like, you know what? I completely understand. On the flip side, though, the positive side of while I was looking at her Instagram account, I did look at Boomich's Instagram account. Interesting pictures. And the dynamic there is just still mind-blowing to me.
I'll have to check it out.
Between him and his wife and his facial hair. Mind-blowing. Just absolutely mind-blowing.
That facial hair really has like a grip on you.
I have nightmares about it, Anuj. I close my eyes and I see Boomage's facial hair. It's just nightmare-worthy. All right, so there is some yikes of the week for you. We'll get into Counter-Strike in a moment, but before that, Anuj, let me go over my too-soon review of Gundam Evolution.
Slow week, huh?
It's, well, it really is. It really is. But it also popped out, and you know me, I'm a Gundam fanboy.
No, I'm kidding. I know.
This has been on my radar for a very long time, and normally, it's
I'm going to join you in this review, by the way, because I did go watch gameplay.
You watched gameplay, so you can at least get it from a perspective. Yeah. And if you look at my notes, I already know what you're going to say. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to worry about it. I'll get to it.
I'll be with you in this.
So For those who don't know, Gundam Evolution is a Bandai game of Gundam, like Mobile Suit Gundam, Gundam Wing. If you watch anime, you definitely know what it is. And if you've watched Toonami, if you're around our age, back in the 2000s, you definitely know what it is. Either way, I'm not a big anime guy, Anuj. You know this. I'm a basic anime fan. I like the normal stuff. Gundam is my all-time favorite, though. Right up there with like Cowboy Bebop. I'll watch anything Gundam. I kind of love it now that I get older and I'm like rewatching it and I'm like, damn, a lot of this kind of sucks, but I still enjoy it for the nostalgia fact. I got Gundam Wing models behind me. You know, I'm a nerd in that sense. So I do love Gundam. So with that being said, no, I have my gamer review and my Gundam fanboy review of this game. Also, I am judging it under harsher light because this isn't just some like throwaway, well, it could be a throwaway money grab game for Gundam fanboys. But when they officially announced this game, Bandai said it with a purpose that they wanted to make this game geared to be an esport. So instantly, like, okay, Gundam, esport, I like it because normally like Gundam games are just, in my opinion, pretty trash to begin with. Like it's just, they're so half-assed. So I was very going in cautiously optimistic about this game. Now, this was a stress test weekend. It was up for like 4 days. I think it closes at maybe midnight today. Or it might be open tomorrow. I don't know when it actually closes, but we're in like the last day for this stress test beta. I don't know. I've never been part of game development where that falls in like the pecking order of how close the game is to being considered official. It feels very early on though. Like at least I hope it's early on because there's some balancing issues with the Gundams. It's essentially, for the sake of the conversation, an Overwatch clone. Now, I know you're going to get some people upset about that, but just like Valorant is a quote-unquote Counter-Strike clone, this is an Overwatch clone. It's 6v6. You have, each unit has its abilities. Now, it's not as role dependent. Like, you don't have a DPS, you don't have healers, you don't have tanks per se, but you definitely have each unit has its obvious special abilities that are, the UI and everything feels exactly like Overwatch.
I gotta ask, so can you choose the same characters as somebody on your team?
No, not as your team. So
I saw a character that, for example, that had like an AR style, like a shot, like an SMG in COD,
right,
basically.
yeah.
Is that a gun that everybody has, or just that one?
Just that one
character?
guy. Yeah, and then other people have like beam rifles.
I saw like one with the beam, and
Yeah.
I saw a couple others. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I'll let you kind of
so there's that. Right off the bat, I know that. I have not played the game with anyone, so it's just me queuing solo. I think I got about 6 or 7 hours in on the weekend to play, which is decent enough for me. That's pretty good gaming hours for me. And I wanted to so badly get you to download this so we could queue up and try to have something that resembled teamwork so I could see how the game plays with actual team fire. But Anuj, you would hate this game. You would absolutely hate it because it is the definition of chaos. Like, again, I'm solo queuing and it's open beta, or it's an open stress test beta weekend, so no one really knows what they're doing, but it's chaos. You got people coming from every direction. The map, and I think that's partially because the map design, to me, the map design is pretty lame. It's pretty not creative whatsoever. Doesn't make me feel like I'm a Gundam in a human world. It's like, oh, I'm conveniently walking around this warehouse that was built to fit Gundams fighting in it, I guess. Like, there's no like urban map. So far, it's early. Like I said, that's me being nitpicky, but that's the point of a too soon review.
Yeah, and like it feels cheap.
It's free to play, by the way.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, so, like,
right.
Fortnite free to play.
Yeah, Valorant is free to play.
Valorant's free to play. A lot of games are free to play. So it feels cheap. It does feel like I'm playing Overwatch in one of its like pre-alpha stages for Overwatch 1.
So
like
my knee-jerk reaction after 3 matches, I closed it and I was like, this is like a trashier version of Overwatch. Like this feels like a bad version of Overwatch. Now, the more I played it, the more I realized that you really can't go in there with the mindset because the game plays completely different. Like every Gundam has its own boost ability and like I'm telling you, it's chaos. Like people are darting left and right, and it's not like Overwatch where it's like, okay, so we have the tanks and they're kind of setting up the initiative, and then the DPS will flank, and then the supports are holding here. It's not like that as of now. Like I said, maybe when people start figuring the game out, they'll figure stuff out. But right now, it is fucking just throw everything you got and pray to God your team comes out killing more people, because it's chaos. Now I will say, I am having fun with it. I am enjoying it. But that might be the Gundam fanboy in me, not the competitive gamer in me. From an esports perspective, I don't get it.
I would think it's that like you have some sort of sentimental attachment in terms of like giving it a true shot, right?
Right.
I just don't think I would make it far enough in to be like, okay, I'm starting
This is
to
fun.
like really like
I
this
would
game.
I would totally play this over Counter-Strike. Like no. Like you just no. And that's also a thing that I feel with just themed games. Like this is Gundam, right? So it's difficult to get people involved if you're not a Gundam fan. Like the game just has to blow people out of the water. Like almost like the Dragon Ball fighting game, Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Like that was such a good fighting game that even non-Dragon Ball fans were like, okay, this game is fun. This is a legit fighting game with Dragon Ball in it, and it was a plus. This, I don't think you would take the average shooter fan, FPS fan, and being like, wow, this is a really put together FPS, and it's a bonus because it's Gundam, right? I don't think it's
some people out there that just don't like anime, so they're
just not going to play it.
More so than they would be otherwise.
Right. Almost
so
like I think of, and it's not just anime, right? Like even like Star Wars Battlefront. Not that ever tried going esports, right? But it's like if you weren't a Star Wars fan, the game would be fun, but only to a certain point. You know, like we liked it because it's like we're big Star Wars fans and it felt awesome and you felt like a badass doing it, but it's just tough when you're doing like a themed brand game.
Yeah.
I mean, you really got to crush it.
Especially in that genre, just if you could definitely compete with Overwatch if you wanted to in that space, but this is not the game to do it.
No.
Like somebody else could come out with a better version of Overwatch, and not a bad idea to take it and enhance upon it, right? Like it's
I don't know. Right now, my too soon review is like, if you're a Gundam fan, you'll probably enjoy it. But like again, I think it's
for how long though,
Yeah, I think it's just like you see it and you're like, wow, look at there's like the Azaku and Char's Gundam, blah blah blah. It's like I think that's why I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with it right now. But there's so many things that need work on. Like I said, like the map design in general. Is weird to me. There's some maps where there's just certain choke points that are just, again, now this might be just solo queuing issues here, but it's like some choke points are just nearly impossible to get through if you're against a team that just has the slightest sense of teamwork. Some of the abilities on some of the Gundams seem completely.
Are the game modes the same as Overwatch then you're talking about? Like where you have to push an area
give
like
or take. Yeah, give or take. Like I said, some of them like they have like Crazy King where like hills, hard point, right? The hills kind of change throughout the map, but for the most part it's all what Overwatch was. Plant a bomb. Like one's kind of like a respawn version of Search and Destroy where you have 2 bomb sites and you gotta plant the bomb and defend it.
Okay.
But there's like respawning for it and everything. So, I mean, it's, like I said, it's fun. It's chaos, though. Like, it truly is. Like, the kids who are hyped up on Adderall will love this game because it is chaos in its pure form. So, I will continue to play. Like I said, that's the Gundam fanboy in me. I will still say that it's fun and I will enjoy it. And you know what, Anuj? When it's fully out, it's free to play, so no excuse. You can give me one night of it. just to see what you say. But I'm telling you right now, you're not. You might have fun with it. You might have fun
briefly,
but it will not be something that you in particular are going to be like, you want to hop on some Gundam? Like, never. Those words will never come out of your mouth. It's going to be a nooch.
I don't see it right now based on what I've seen either.
Right.
You know?
No, and you
we'll
won't.
see. We'll give it time.
Yeah.
Give it time. We'll see what it looks like in a year or so.
Yeah, my too soon review is that it is too soon to judge. But if I am judging it based off of it right now and them saying they want to make it an esport, they need work. They got some work to do on that front. So there's that.
Hopefully they understand that.
Yes. Also, side note, how are you going to have a Gundam game and nothing from Gundam Wing? I know it's not everyone's favorite series, but that shit was on Toonami. That's what like American people know. Come on now. Come on, Bandai.
Yeah. Never watched Gundam.
And you know what? I would tell you too, but again, it's not even that great of a show. Unless you watch the originals. Like if you watch the OG Mobile Suit Gundam with like Char and stuff, that's awesome.
It's like a bunch of Transformers basically, isn't it?
No, they're Gundams. Transformers transform. Gundams are Gundams. They're like
Transformers that are in constant
already transform made and they got pilots. But it's I don't want to get into the anime talk here, Nooch, because you're going to get me down that road. And every time Kevin is actually a huge Gundam fan, and every time he's on the show when you're out, we always end up talking about Gundam. There's like a whole like geopolitical nonsense with it and like with the Earth Federation and space. And actually now that you get older, you're like, oh shit. I never noticed this when I was like 13 years old. But there's a lot to it. It's confusing. It's like a soap opera like most animes. But the game is okay. It's okay. Gundam fanboy, it's fun. Not Gundam fanboy, it needs work. And that's me being nice. All right. So there it is. Gundam Evolution Too Soon review. Go sign up for the beta. Like I said, I think this weekend it ends on the 12th. But it's on Steam. So sign up for the next one and have at it. Let me know what you think. Let's talk, though, some real esports with CSGO because it's been a while, Nooch, since we've just kind of talked some Counter-Strike, I feel like Valorant has taken some of our attention away just with the nature of the landscape.
Well, and it's also kind of just been like Pro League going on, right?
Right.
For the most part, like we haven't had any like really big events in this past month or so. So we've just kind of been focusing on Pro League and for us, the way we're watching it now is like we kind of wait for the playoffs to start. It's not like you're glued to every group stage matchup that's taking place.
Right.
And
Pro League, let me tell you what. Pre-COVID, ESL Pro League was like my jam. It really was because you had the EU in the morning, but then at night, you had NA had my undivided attention. And that was Cloud9, Liquid Hate. You know what I'm saying? Like it was it was great. NA was still relevant.
4 or 5 teams that made it like a lot of fun to watch.
Right. Post-COVID, call me when the playoffs start. That's just me.
Yeah, because you're watching just
it's like in the morning. So
yeah. No, it played out interesting, and it's happened during an interesting time. Obviously, with the whole Ukraine-Russia situation going on, it kind of landed in the middle of the event taking place in that sense. And I think I was more fascinated by the group stage versus the playoffs. I think the playoffs, once you saw the matchups, I felt like I could see how this outcome was at least headed, and obviously being the surprise factor, making it as far as they did.
As they always are. Like, ENCE is like, they're nothing.
That once or twice a year where they just like,
it's like
pop off.
ENCE is so irrelevant most of the time, but man, when they want to go, they will get to those grand finals. Like, they will make that run.
Yeah, I think for me, the championship felt like it was like the FaZe Na'Vi matchup that took place in the quarters. Beyond that, we had so many teams that didn't qualify to get into playoffs that some of that excitement, that buzz that you generally see for like ESL Pro League is all the good teams usually make it through, or most of them, right? Maybe one fell off during the season, and that's a big deal. But this year, teams like G2, Vitality, obviously, I don't want to say like Evil Geniuses, but team with so many big names on a team like Evil Geniuses, Outsiders, which is like VP. These guys didn't make it, and that took away a little bit of the hype I felt like for the playoffs, and unfortunately with FaZe and um, Navi matching up so early, it felt like this was FaZe's tournament to win.
Yes, and in fact it was, because they did beat Ents 3-1 in the grand finals. And I wanted to take a second to talk about that, because just from a general, like, I know I give FaZe, the org, a lot of shit. Rightfully so. Like, I'm not saying sorry for that at all. I think they're a joke of an org in the sense of how they got where they are. And I'll stand by that. FaZe up, by the way. I definitely still want free merch. But it is good to see a team, because they're number one in the world now in CS. They're back on HLTV's number one spot for the first time I think I saw in like 4 years.
It's crazy.
And it is good to see. It's refreshing to see, Anuj, that a team can do that. Like, we have seen so many times, especially here on the NA side. And so maybe this is me wishful thinking and living vicariously through FaZe. But it is nice to see a team be on the top, fall off, have a rebuilding phase, no pun intended, and make it back to number one, right? Whether that's in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it's just nice to see that it is possible. Because so often we see in esports, not just in Counter-Strike, where like for a team to drop off and then you just kind of never hear from them again, right? Or they're never taken in that same serious light.
And the way that they've had to come back, because FaZe has had several iterations of a 5-man group since the Boston Major fiasco, right?
On paper, FaZe has had the best roster for the last 4 years. Like, on paper, you look at the names that have been on FaZe and you're like, how have these guys not won?
Like, if I told you that FaZe was going to make a comeback or a redemption arc, and that was going to be without Nico and without Coldzera on the team, you'd be like, well, then who the hell's on this team that's going to do it? But they have quietly, and now, with the addition of Rops, not so quietly, but like built an amazing roster in terms of raw talent, but like chemistry, which is just so equally important. Like, it feels like they have the right personalities on a team, egos on a team, and leadership in like somebody like Kerrigan, a senior like Rain, to hopefully keep this group together for some time. And this could be the start of a potential FaZe era. I don't want to jump the gun because so much has to happen before you say this is a team's era.
Of course.
But it does look like something special, right? Like, they really, maybe Kerrigan doesn't stick around as long because he wants to retire and move on or something. But like, I think that this team, the way that they're built, could easily have a really good couple year run in them of winning a lot of events, hopefully capping that off with the major at some point, looking like it could be just in a month or two here. But they look really, really dangerous. Their best players are their youngest players, and their youngest players are young, And so,
well, they're young, and they've also been there before, right? For having like Twists and Rops, who are obviously, I would think, your star key players, right? No knock on the other three, but you look at the roster and you think, oh, Twists and Rops, like, you just took the best players from, some of the best orgs at one point in time and put them on your roster, and they've both been at the top before.
They both played in playoff stages at a major, and made runs and been on teams that have been there, won Intel Grand Slams.
Well, I mean, both. Twists, I know Liquid was number one for a while there when they were on their Grand Slam run. Rops, did Mouse ever make it to number one?
Rops was number one a couple times.
When we had him on the show,
like back-to-back years.
And even then, because I remember we asked him, he was like, yeah, we don't feel like we're number one, though. Like, we're number one, but we're not number one. I wonder if right now he feels like, okay, yeah, this is what a number one roster feels like. Because even on Mouse Sports, we talked to Rops at that time at ESL Pro League when they were here in Dallas, funny enough. And he said, like, yeah, we're number one, number two, whatever it was. But he's like, we don't feel like it. Other teams just aren't performing as well. I wonder if he feels that difference between then and now. Like, okay, this is what a number one feels
right? Like I feel like they're the best team right now, and that's not to take away from like Navi, but there are distractions, right? And that's really obvious.
And that's what I was gonna say is you don't want to
give Navi that pass, but a part of me is also feeling a little nervous about Navi, not in the sense that they're not going to continue to be a great team, which they are. It's just the hangover started right after, what was it? Blast took place right after the major. So they won the majors and they won Blast. And that was just like on such a high at that point. And then it's kind of like, okay, been like, okay, they've been good. They did really good in group stage here, obviously going 5-0 or whatever it was. But we've seen them falter a couple of times, and the majors, all they're probably worried about and all they're thinking about. But you kind of want to see some good positive signs going into the major. And that's tough, obviously, with what they're going through. Like,
and I'm not going to say you're right. And when I say what I'm about to say, it's not in a sense of like, hey, get over it or don't use that as an excuse, right? But I honestly think we cannot overstate like what is going on that roster behind closed doors. Like you have a Ukraine org where 2 or 3 out of the 5 players are Russian and the other 2 are Ukraine. Like, you cannot overstress how, one day it might be good. The next they see, God forbid they see a story about a place close to home, right? Or Boomage's wife put something on Instagram and then is it innocent? Is it not? Right? Simple sees it and is like, what the hell is this about, bro? Like, what's going on here? So, look, and maybe that doesn't happen. I have to imagine it does. Obviously, we've never been in a situation where you and I even have to think about something like this. But I really feel like you can't overestimate it. Like, the news is constant from what we're seeing, let alone that if you are overseas in Europe, being Ukraine, and you obviously have family and connections over there to get information much closer to the source than what we're getting. I can't imagine the inconsistency with their mood. Like, it's just, I can't imagine.
I mean, it's tough. And that's the only way that we can understand it is that it's like a really.
And on top of that, you got guys like us being like, oh man, they're not performing as good in Counter-Strike,
And that's why we say all of this has an asterisk next to it, right? Like I would like to try in our discussion about the teams, trying to separate, what's going on with one individual versus like what's going on in somebody else's, like maybe their family life is really bad or something, like it's not to diminish anything that's happening, but for what FaZe is doing right now, and I want to stick on them for just a couple more seconds here, is like it's so impressive right now and it's so consistent with them that to me, heading into the major, like they're a clear cut above everybody else, it looks like at the moment, right? G2 still working in Monacy. You kind of just got to give that time, although it's looked really good at times.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that it could be a fluid situation with such a young player. We've talked about, Navi, we don't know what we're Vitality missing out in this scenario, obviously doesn't help, but we do fear that roster in general. But outside of like some of those 3 or 4 names, nobody seems like a really big scare at the moment for FaZe.
No, and I would also though say argue where, because this is FaZe, I could easily see the next event they get bounced relatively early, and we're in one of these influx of rankings again in CS that we kind of saw for a little bit. I think it was last year or year before that, before Navi kind of started their run and Astralis was kind of falling off, where we just kind of always had this shuffle of maybe 3 or 4 teams in that top 5 area, going on. And I could easily see that because yes, everything we said about FaZe is they're great, and they've had guys who have been there to done that, and they're looking good. But those guys are also there because their other teams stopped working. So I always kind of have that fear in the back of my mind that it could always happen again. Plus, it's FaZe. FaZe is going to FaZe.
A team that surprised me this weekend in these playoffs was NIP. Because they're playing pretty well in Device's absence, and I gotta say that this has got to be infuriating right now for the ownership and the team. I would start to be not necessarily mad at Device because he's going through personal reasons and that's why he's taking his time off. But it's got to be infuriating because you do have a roster that's put together that could be, lined up to make a major run coming up here. You don't have many events left between now and then to get quality reps in versus good teams, and your superstar player still isn't back, with limited discussion, at least rumored outside the org, on his return. And you don't really know what you have, right? Like, it's so hard to judge the other 4 on the team when they're really there to be supporting the one person that's not there, And so I'm hoping for some news on his return, sooner rather than later. But I feel like if they also don't think he's going to come back anytime soon, maybe you look to move him on. I don't know if that's really the right move either.
The major starts in May.
Yeah.
Start date May 9th. I don't necessarily know when NIPS starts play. At this
qualifiers, right? And
right.
That's not going to be easy to get through for EU.
At this point, I mean, like you said, it's a tough decision to make. But I think you just got to stick with this roster. I mean, it's Device, so who knows? Maybe they're playing with seeing him play behind. How much has he been playing behind closed doors, right? Are we going to get Device right back in it, and he's going to be the top player that we know? Or is there, like you said, is there going to be that period of not only meshing with the team, which we know doesn't take overnight, and be him getting back up to speed, right? Personally.
Well, because he was still meshing with the team when he stepped away from the team, right? That wasn't even, it's not like we were at a complete stage in that project at that point. And they've made changes, since then as well. So it's just one of those things where they've been looking good. They play really tough. They're not an easy out for anybody, but you also feel like they're not a real threat at the end of the day either. And that's got to be just tough. I know everybody wants to have him back, including us. We want to see him back.
Well, and you just want to see this NIP roster that we've been, quote unquote promised now for the last, 6 months or however long it's been. Feel like it's been forever. And yeah, we got all excited when Astralis' roster kind of breaking off and you started seeing some of the players go places, and NIP was kind of irrelevant for a while, and they're 7th right now in the HLTV ranking, and they're in a tough spot.
Such a crazy story when it happened, and so much of that hype has fallen off because we've just seen so little of it together, it feels like.
They're honestly in a very tough spot, from an org standpoint and from a team standpoint. You just got to ride, I think, with what's got you there at this point, and that's this roster, and then you tell Device, hey, don't, and if it is seriously something personal or mental, don't worry about it. Take the time. We'll see you after the major. And then, if they win the major, you can tell them to get lost. But anything less than that, I think you can have the discussion of having them back on and seeing how it works out.
But if he told me tomorrow he was ready to come back, I'm putting him in that starting lineup tomorrow too. I wouldn't be able to hold him back. Now, if he told me this a day before the major started, obviously different story.
then
but
we're discussing things.
if
But
he's like, look, get me in, give me 1 month, go from there. Um, Tim, the other interesting thing that I wanted to see if you wanted to talk about here, because we didn't really talk about this much beforehand, is our lovely NA boys. Just kind of across the board, NA within Pro League here. It was pretty disheartening. I would say it kind of lived up to expectations in a way for most people,
I
but
was about to
I had,
say,
I had a little bit more hope in some of the early projects, not at end all be all, but I was hoping for a little bit of a better result from some of our newer teams here, with Liquid really being the only one
look, yeah, Liquid being the
representing
only
well.
real NA. Are we still calling Brazil NA for the sake of our arguments of feeling good about ourselves? I don't think we can anymore. I feel like that died.
I want to claim Furia, but I no, we can't. Like there's
Brazil is a big enough scene where they're their own now.
they're calling the qualifiers for the major like the Americas qualifier.
Oh shit.
So
All right. Well, we can't do that anymore then. So they took that away from us. So yeah, we're truly stuck with the teams that we got. Look, Evil Geniuses going 0-5. I don't care if it's early on in the rebuild. I don't care if you want to call it a project. I don't care. Going 0-5 with that roster is inexcusable. Unreal, poor performance in the sense of it wasn't like, hey man, they were close games. They were close matches. They won one map. And it was against the other second shitty NA team there in Complexity. That's horrific to be Evil Geniuses right now.
so like, okay, I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate, not much because it's hard to when you go 0-5. They did have by far the toughest group, in my opinion. Or close to, if not the toughest, but they had the toughest group. They had Navi, they had Heroic, they had Astralis. I think those three we could say fairly confidently they're probably going to lose to those teams, although Astralis is a little bit closer to like a 60-40, let's say, in Astralis's favor. But Heroic and Navi, you could say those are two teams that you need to beat or lose to. AGO, I thought that could have been also like a 50-50 because they do have their moments where they played well. They also have a team that's been together a little bit longer. And then Complexity, there's familiarity against each other. So there is more chances for one team to beat another, even if you don't expect them to. But look, to go 0-5, it's just got to be defeating. For Complexity to go 1-4 and your only win is against Evil Geniuses, the one team that it's like, well, we play them in scrims. Like there are only 3 teams in NA to scrim, so we play these guys all the time. Not that.
Like you can't even have like a hang your hat on type of moment with this. Like this is not even something you can be like, well, you know what? We went 2-3. Sure, we didn't make the playoffs, but we looked good. No, you looked bad. You looked bad.
Party Astronauts, the other NA team that was grouped up with Liquid, those guys also going 0-5 with the -68 differential.
Shout
EG
out Peter.
Yeah, that was the easiest group in my mind to make it out of, and somehow Movie Star Writers made it out with the 5-0 finish. But like Liquid, yes, they made it into playoffs, and it was nice to see that. But in the easiest group, they kind of squeaked through 3-2, being the third place team making it out. It was just one of those things where we still seem, although I like some of the projects we have going on right now, like it's hard to have any hope heading into the major here.
Yeah,
Like,
I have zero hope. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Like, and the sad part is, like, I think a win right now is like thinking of it like USA Soccer. If we make it out of group stage,
yeah,
like damn, like what an event. We performed really well. I'm proud of the boys, and that kind of feels like the best hope. Just getting kind of one real last look at these guys before the major kicks off.
And I really don't even know how NA got to this point, to be honest with you. I really like. You could say it was COVID and it was just everything went over to EU. So then like the NA infrastructure on local soil kind of faded, which that could very realistically be it. You could blame Valorant for killing NA Counter-Strike. That might be it, but I mean. This is a monumental fall off from an entire region that I just never seen before. Like every NA team out there is just struggling right now. And I feel like at this point it's just they're in their own head to figure it out. But
yeah, I mean look, NACS it's always kind of been tough for NACS, right? Let's not
it's always
act
been
like
tough,
we've had,
but we've kind of always had that glimmer of hope.
Now we can look back and be like, damn, those were like some really good years NA Counter-Strike had, but you need to see young talent be developed somewhere, and OC is kind of a good example of that. Like he looks to be a really good player, hopefully for Liquid, and can prove his worth. But we yeah, I mean we have a long way to go. Like that's kind of what I took away from Pro League is damn, FaZe and these guys look so good, and I hate to kind of see Twist, be there in a way because he was not so long ago like one of ours,
Right.
on Liquid. And so yeah, I mean, look, we saw some great CS. It's just when it comes down to majors, it becomes a NA EU type game that we're playing there, and I just don't see much chance.
No. Like I mean, I don't see it, and I don't see really an end in sight. Coming off to it closely. To be honest with you, I just don't see it happening. Unless some team just decides to blow up the bank account and get
Tarek and get going.
get him out of his Twitch retirement. Good luck with that. And one side note here, one last thing. Well, I guess we could just keep it all in Counter-Strike then, because since it's all going to be directly into E-News. VP and Gambit, they are banned from the major. The players can play, but the orgs cannot. Very confusing, considering it was like just the day or two before this was announced. Axel, however you say his name, said that they were competing for Gambit. They were like, oh yeah, don't worry though, we'll be back under Gambit's banner.
I'm sure like they were told that, and then like
the news,
because that story came out, and then I'm sure they were like, okay, we need to like make this decision, it now. And I think it's the right decision to make.
They look in their email outbound waiting to be sent, the pending outbound inbox, and they're like, oh, did you ever send that email to the Russian teams? Like, no.
I'll do that right now.
Right. So
yeah, no, I mean,
not surprising.
Yeah, at least the players are getting a chance to play.
And I think that's all people care about, right?
Yeah.
You don't feel bad for the orgs.
They got CS community, yeah, for sure.
Right. But orgs are corporations, man. Gotta feel for the players. IEM Dallas, Anuj. Self-interest there, as that will be, of course, at DreamHack Dallas, which, of course, we will be at. And friendly reminder, Anuj, because you don't have Messenger on your phone right now, I'm going to buy our hotels tonight. And my hotel room took a vote, and they want the shorter walk one. So, Marriott.
Okay.
Just now that I'm thinking about it out loud. So that will be after the show. Also, friendly reminder, if you are going to DreamHack Dallas, apparently we're going to stay at the Marriott. So if you want to hang. Okay. But the IEM Dallas, we have now been announced the teams that are invited for closed qualifiers and the teams that will just be there in general. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we have
the invited teams
that are there already for the main event are going to be your big dogs, right? Your FaZe, Gambit, Heroic, Nip, Astralis, Navi, G2, and Furia Vitality, right? So like your big players are all going to be there.
Big players, but can I say I'm honestly surprised because this is a month or so after the major, not even a couple weeks.
You and I were kind of debating on this, right? Because we weren't sure. We're like, man, it's so close to after the major, but it's like an IEM event, which is like such a big deal. So we were not sure what kind of reception we would see. But then I started to think more, and I was like, man, wait, Blast was like a week after the major, and everybody was competing in Blast, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, all the big teams were there. So I guess it makes sense. And so we are going to see an amazing event here in Dallas. We still have 6 qualifying teams to make it, 2 out of Europe, 2 out of North America, 1 out of South America, and then 1 Oceania team. So there will be a qualifying stage going on. And, there are some big names that we're going to be seeing in those qualifiers, a Fnatic, a VP, a lot of the NA teams, Liquid Complexity and Evil Geniuses. Godsent included, so 2 out of those 4 will advance.
How unreal is that, though? We have our first tournament in forever on NA soil, big tournament on NA soil, and we have to have Liquid, Complexity, and Evil Geniuses all fight through qualifiers. Like, how depressed? I don't want to always get on this NA depressing train here, but how depressing is that?
Yeah, I mean, we are gonna have probably gonna have 2 good teams in there from NA though, so that'll be good at least.
I need an EU team. That's really what it is. I need to jump ship. Just pick an EU team, and I really want it to be FaZe, but man, I hate FaZe, so it can't be FaZe. We'll figure it out. Maybe G2. I don't know. Anyways, I know. Look, I am shocked. I think that's going to be an incredible event, right? And it really is only going to get more incredible based off of how the major turns out. Because who knows, if FaZe makes that run and wins the major, we'll have a quick turnaround time to see if they can defend it. Or if we have like a Cinderella team that makes their way through, chances are they'll be there. My eyes are on Movie Star Riders, a team from Spain. Mixwell used to be on that team, I believe, before he switched over to Valorant. So I think they're 12th now in the rankings. They've kind of came out of nowhere, not nowhere. They've always been around, but very much in the sense of like Tyloo, right? Like, yeah, they were around for the major, and then because you have to be, and then you'll go away. But now they're actually competing more and more at these events and kind of taking notice. As you said, they went 5-0 in their groups for ESL Pro League. So I have them highlighted. I want to see them at another big international event. So DreamHack Dallas is looking, or excuse me, IEM Dallas. I don't want to take that away from them, but it's all DreamHack Dallas is looking pretty good.
It really is. We're going to get an awesome event to attend. So
which is good because the last couple of them have been kind of, no offense,
they've been like your typical like DreamHack style events,
right?
The last couple that we've been to. So this will be a nice change, for sure.
No, looking forward to it. All right, so let's get into some e-news to wrap this up. We just talked all CS. So in Valorant, C9 has made an announcement that they will not do any roster changes. So good to see. Look, I'm happy we're seeing that, right? C9 was a competitive team that failed to qualify, but have I always said it? Teams get way too trigger happy with roster moves. I'm glad to see C9 at least saying, guys, what's the harm in seeing if we can make it work? So I like that. Liquid. Oh, did you have something to say on that one?
No, go ahead.
Liquid advanced. This is for the obviously Iceland VCT update. Liquid advanced out of Group B, going 2-0. So for all those people complaining about them not deserving to be there, going 2-0. Optic, on the other hand, and remember, I said Group B was supposed to be the easy group for Optic. Boy, was I wrong. It was an easy group, but just not for Optic, because Optic is facing Crew now in the elimination match tomorrow. And if they win that, they'll have another decider elimination match against some other team after that. So,
in a tough spot for sure.
It's not looking good for especially when Optic was supposed to be the favorite NA team, despite the Guard qualifying ahead of them. Optic was still looking to be the favor, so not looking good for Optic. NIP
NA once again struggling.
Right, it's just it's unreal. It doesn't matter the esport. NIP defeated Fnatic 2-0 in Group A, And DRX absolutely, the Korean team, DRX absolutely obliterated Zeta Division from Japan.
Yeah.
Defeating them 2-0. Map 1, 13-2. Map 2, 13-3.
Doesn't get much cleaner than that. and at that level, too.
Just destroyed them. Just absolutely destroyed them. But hey, Liquid doesn't deserve to be there, so don't worry. In Overwatch news, provide support for London Spitfire no more, as it was reported that screenshots were leaked out showing that he sent explicit messages to a 16-year-old back in 2019. He was then later released, so that will do it. Never even got a chance to play. I wonder if he got a chance to play Overwatch 2 before everyone. We'll never know. And in other FPS news, FaZe is not giving up on Halo, despite everyone else giving up on Halo, as FaZe Clan hosting their own Halo Invitational. 12 teams plus 4 qualified teams, April 16th through the 17th, $50,000 a Nuge. So someone's
trying to do something to keep it alive.
Someone's believing in the dream. Season 2 was announced, though. Did you see? Season 2 was announced. The armor does look cooler, and then, they're making all these promises, but,
one new map coming, yay.
I've been hurt before, so we'll see. At this rate, I think I stand a better chance of getting you to play Gundam Evolution than I do Halo. So there's that.
We do have Fortnite no build mode going on right now. I know Tim and I have talked about this for a while on the show, waiting for that. But
yeah, Fortnite no build. We haven't talked about that. It's good. For whatever reason, they put like the shittiest guns possible in there for no build mode. But other than that, I do enjoy it. I think the guns are horrendous.
Well, we did find that gun again, to be fair.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's because I liked the guns in the first part of this season or whatever they call it so much. Like all the guns felt good. Now it's like you're back to crappy guns that don't go anywhere. Like you're sitting still, they're sitting still, your crosshair's on the guy's head, you take a shot and your bullet goes to the left. And you're like, but why? Why, game? So what's
the point of the crosshair?
Right. It's just, that's Fortnite for me in a nutshell. But there you have it. That's E-News. A little shorter one with all the bigger tournaments going on, not as much drama going on in the world of esports. But that does it for episode 379 of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for stopping by, skipping around. Love you all the same. We will be back next week to talk some more VCT Iceland, now that the groups will kind of be decided by then and we can talk more playoff action and all that fun stuff. So that will be then. Until then, join the Discord. We'll be in there playing some Fortnite no build, playing some Counter-Strike. You know how it goes. We got games. We got games and we want to play them. So hit us up. But until then, for Anuj, I'm Tim. Love your face. See you next time. Bye.